Hey everybody, we are live. It's Rise and Outshine, episode 17. I've got two great shows joining me tonight, Maria and Stacey from Successfully Chaotic and Erinn from the Mommy Mentor podcast. Let's hear that theme music.
We're asking the experts, we're all on a mission to rise in the rankings and outshine the competition. Welcome to Rise and Outshine.
And before we get started, I'm going to introduce my guest judge tonight, Wise from Real Wise Productions. You've seen him 100 times on many things I produce. One of my favorite guests and judges on the Rise and Outshine show, also a Pennsylvanian. Wise, welcome to the show.
What's going on, brother? What's going on? How you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing well. Very excited. I wore a shirt where I'm popping the collar tonight. I'm trying a new look. But it also makes me feel like I have a neck injury because I can't really turn my head with a pop. It's not easy. It's not easy. I don't know how kids do this fashion. We got people watching at home. Now, one of the things on this show is this is an interactive show, and I'm going to explain to you as we bring up our guest tonight. I want everybody to pull up your phones and meet my guests. We have Stacey, Maria, and Erinn is going to pop up as well here in 1 second. We have a very interactive show tonight, and what we're going to do is while each of my two guest shows play tonight, Stacey and Maria are going to do 10 minutes of the Successfully Chaotic podcast, and Erinn's going to have a 10-minute pre-recorded segment of the Mommy Mentor podcast. And during these shows, I have a special way to keep score, and we're going to be judging each show on 5 different criteria. You can scan the QR code, or if you like typing like myself, you can type this code in at the bottom here. And there's 5 criteria. And as we go through these shows, I want you to look at the audio quality, the host, the quality of the content. Does the content match expectations, and the production quality? And we're looking for 5s. 5s are very good scores on this show. You shouldn't be much lower than a 4 or much higher than a 6. Because what we want to do is find where do these shows skew, where do they need help, where are they excelling at, and we want to give them this feedback at the end of the 10 minutes. I can see Stacey's excited for the feedback portion. I see her smiling and laughing there. And so pull up the shows, pull it up on your phone, and you can do the voting with us while we're meeting our shows tonight. And I'm so excited. We have Stacey and Maria for the Successfully Chaotic podcast. And again, Erinn will come up second with the Mommy Mentor. So we are going to get right into it. And let's talk a little bit about, let's see, Maria and Stacey. This is the Successfully Chaotic podcast. You've been doing it for a couple years now. Tell us a little bit about what we're about to see and how did this podcast come about?
Oh, Lord, that's a loaded question on how it came about. But basically, I was doing some live speaking engagements and was told to start a podcast. And I was like, all right, I'm going to start a podcast. And I had no idea how to start a podcast. Had no idea even how podcasts went out. And, the rest is kind of history. I kind of fell into it, loved it. And now it's one of my favorite things to do. So I'm excited. Stacey is one of my favorite people. And so when I knew I was going to be on here, I was like, Stacey, you want to come on with me? And she said, yeah. So excited to have, her on today.
Awesome. Anything Stacey would like to add?
No, you're good. I mean,
Stacey has nothing else to add. So
well, the magnificent one has been MIA. So
she has. She's been moving. She's had a lot going on.
A lot.
I know. I see. She's been moving and everything. Yeah, she's been very busy.
This is kind of a reunion.
Life gets a hold of you sometimes. Life
does. Sometimes it'd be like, ah!
All right. So everybody at home, pull up the scoring for Successfully Chaotic, scan the QR code, or type in the code as you see it at the bottom of your screen. Without any further ado, here's 10 minutes of the Successfully Chaotic podcast.
I like his reminder. 10 minutes.
10 minutes. Ready?
All right.
Go.
And go. Well, I mean, honestly, that whole conversation kind of got us started, just even with talking about you moving and stuff, because,
Yeah.
as you know, this the show, we've kind of been on a big roller coaster of conversations with guests and stuff. But this last season, for season 9, we've been talking about just kind of that whole journey from chaos to clarity. And I think we're all on that journey. I don't think that journey ever really ends, right? Because
No.
life's chaos, right? Life is messy, and you'll have parts where it seems like a little more calm,
Yeah.
and then you'll have parts where it's like, all right, hang on, and I think that's the reality of it. And that's kind of one of the things that was the premise for beginning the show anyway, was my own realization and my own journey and my own aha moment that this is just part of life. And some people's lives are more messy than others. And for those of you that don't know me, I have 7 kids with one on the spectrum and several businesses. So my life it can be crazy and chaotic quite often.
Tell me.
And yeah, right, Stacey?
Oh, yeah.
So, and that's the goal, right? It's just trying to find our own version and brand of success. And, we mentioned earlier that, Stacey, you just moved, and, that's chaos. And chaos isn't necessarily bad, though, right?
No, not at all. I mean, I think even for me personally, the chaos, you learn from it. It's sometimes there's going to be moments where it's coming, sometimes you don't. And I think it's the unexpected moments that really, ironically, those are the ones that really shape you. You know what I mean? And it helps you to look at life in, I guess, a clearer perspective. I mean, at least for me, it has cleared things up, but it's good. I support it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and honestly, I mean, even if you look at it from like a physics level, chaos is part of all of existence. And
Legit.
I'm kind of a science geek, so I like looking at that side of things too. But, my goal is always, especially now, and this was, again, the whole season 9 premise was, well, how do you find your clarity kind of in the midst of that, especially the heavy chaos? Because a little bit of chaos, I can sell pretty smooth on a little bit of chaos. But if it gets to be too much, too many things coming at me at one time, that can make me feel like I'm stuck in this like thick fog, and I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do, where I'm supposed to go. And I found that so many people end up in that space, entrepreneurs and, moms and, dads, and just people, right? And I know I found myself in those places so many times, and I've had to kind of come up with my own,
like system.
Like my own
Straight
version
up,
of how do I get out of this, right? What is my steps that I need to take to get from feeling stuck, feeling like clouded, not sure where to go because I can't see, my hand in front of my face. What is something I can do right now? And the key that I have found is that, first of all, to stop thinking too far ahead on stuff. When you're stuck, think of the next thing. Find one thing, right? One thing that you can do right now that's going to at least lead you in the right direction, or where you think the right direction is when you're feeling kind of like stuck. And I think that can be something that is so important for so many people. And, that's something that you and I talk about.
Oh, heck yeah. Oh, heck yeah. One in front of the other, because, even like, I told you when I quit my job, I didn't have a plan. There was no plan. It was just, I left and I was just like, I got to get money somehow.
Yeah.
But I think, when you focus on, because I could think in that moment, long term, like, oh my God, like, what am I going to do about these bills that are like coming up, like, in a month or so, or how am I going to live? What's the first thing I could do right now? Like, what is the first thing? Okay, I have access to X, Y, or Z, and then start from there, because I think once you take one step, the next step reveals itself. Absolutely. But you're not going to get that if you don't take the step. So it's in those moments of chaos. I mean, like, what's been going on with me. Like, I quit my job, went into a crazy financial situation, moved out from another crazy situation, and then, like, literally last week got into a car accident. Like, that is crazy chaos. But I think, I used to say this. I encourage people to find their anchor. And I don't know what it is for anyone. I think you define what that is for you. But I think that anchor is the one thing that's going to help pull you through the chaos. In your anchor sometimes is connected, or it is your why. your definition of why.
Absolutely. Well, and I think for some people, they're not sure what that is, right? They're like, okay, well,
Right.
how do I find my why? How do I find my purpose? And those are big questions if you think about
Huge.
it. But the way that you can answer that again is like, what makes you feel okay right now? What's something that's going to like make you feel like you can take that next step right now? What's something that you feel like, okay, well, this is leading me in the direction that when I close my eyes and kind of imagine how I want my life to be,
Yeah.
it's going in the right direction, right? And that's been my own journey that I've been on because, you know, life changes so rapidly, especially again, I'm a mom. And out of my 7 kids, 3 are moved out. My life keeps changing, right? Because
There's no constant, but
no. And, you know, and it's funny because I am such a planner that was something that I had a really hard time with because for me, it was like, I want to know and plan, or I like want to hide from it, which neither of those is something that I can do, right? I can't 100% plan my entire life. I can high level plan, I can have goals, you know, but I also can't hide from it. So, you know, it became this whole thing where I had to figure out, okay, well, you know, this whole ebb and flow of life, this journey that we're on, it is ups and downs and twists and turns.
100%.
It's all of those things. And the only thing that I can control is my reaction to all of these things.
100%.
You know, how am I responding, right? And, you know, that kind of took me on this whole journey that we're going into season 10, which seems crazy. That the accidental podcaster, I just stopped calling myself that not that long ago.
Yeah, it's not an accident anymore. You're doing it on purpose.
I'm doing it on purpose now because I'm not accidental anymore. But going into season 10, we're talking just about like renewal, right? This whole like renewal and nourishment and refocusing. And I always kind of pick these words of the year, and I know a lot of people do. And for the last like month or so, this word keeps popping in my mind, just nourish. And I'm not just talking about only like nourish your body, right? Which is, of course, you want to eat great food, right? But I'm more talking about like nourish your soul, nourish your mind. Like life is too short. I know a lot of us have lost loved ones close to us. I have within the last couple of years. I know a lot of people that I'm really close to have as well. And, you know, it puts things into perspective that
100%.
You have to soak it in. You really do. Yeah. And yes, there's nothing wrong with chasing big dreams and big goals. There's nothing wrong with that at all. But you have to make sure that you're taking enough time to actually be present
100%.
and enjoy life. And I think that's
Gratitude.
something that's something for our entrepreneurs that I think is hard for us. Do you see that too?
Yeah. But you know what? I feel like you get to these moments in life where I call it like a reset, you know, and things just get put into perspective. Like all of a sudden you're like, oh, I was worried about this. And then when you look at the significance of that to maybe life or like tomorrow's not promised, certain things like that, like all of a sudden you're just like, dang, like, let me celebrate these small wins. Like, let me just like focus on where I'm at and be grateful for that. And just understand that whatever journey I'm on, whether I'm an entrepreneur or whatever goals I have, let me appreciate how far I've come, because sometimes, I mean, think about you a couple of years ago. You think you could have been where you are right now? Like, you gotta give yourself some props.
No, absolutely. Well, and I think for me, it's kind of odd, and you know this about me, but for me, I think a lot of my journey the last few years isn't so much of becoming as it is unbecoming, you know, and I think that's a lot of people's journey though. Like I had got myself to this point that I thought that my family wanted me to be, society wanted me to be, I thought I wanted to be. I got to that point and I was actually miserable. And then I had to start pulling these pieces away because I wasn't sure why I was miserable with it. I just knew that I was. And so for me, it's been this ongoing journey. And I know I'm not alone. There's so many people I've talked to that are the same way. It's like, okay, well, what fits and what doesn't? What fits and what doesn't with the life that I want? Not that society wants, not that my family wants, not that even my spouse wants, not that anybody wants but me. Because at the end of the day, if I am completely miserable, then that's going to affect my kids. It's going to affect
it's a domino effect.
It is. And I think we're so afraid of that because I think we've been taught that that's selfish to think about things like that.
Yeah.
And I mean, I would definitely say there are selfish ways to do it, but I think kind of that, you can't pour from an empty cup mentality that I know I used to share on a regular basis. Be like, yes, I'd heart that and share it. Yeah, you can't pour from an empty cup. Well, all the time my cup's sitting over there like bone dry, like nothing's in it. And I'm like, yeah,
Why there's so many
from...
webs on your cup?
I know, but I'm over there like, don't pour from an empty. I mean, I meant it. I didn't realize because,
Right.
having so many people that I'm responsible for, and then a special needs kid, it was like always like
It's a lot.
I had to put myself on the back burner so many times until I couldn't anymore. And I think so many people end up there. So many women end up there, so many moms. And I can't speak from the dads, so I've never been a dad, but I'm sure that they end up there too.
Indeed. We got 30 seconds, so.
All right.
What do
Oh,
you
he
wanna
gave
say?
us warnings with
Yeah.
4 exclamation points. Okay. We'll just end it like that. So
No,
wrap it up.
Say something
All right.
profound, please.
Definitely like, no, I can't for that with that kind of a
In 30 seconds. Oh man. All right.
That's fine. No, I guess what I will say though is if you find yourself kind of at this like crossroads, like I feel like a lot of people are at a crossroads right now. Don't overthink it. Just
Yeah.
get up and do one thing that is putting you in the right direction of where you want to be. That's what I'm leaving it with. Hopefully I didn't
Very
go
good.
over time. Do I
you
get
probably
charged for
did.
extra time?
There's
Yeah,
no,
is there like a
Fine.
bank
get
for
fined?
that?
there's no charge for extra time. And
Okay.
and just seeing you two back together, makes me remember how much I miss Thursday afternoons with you two. We used to
I know. We've talked about doing
Oh
it again.
man.
We've talked
Oh,
about
man.
doing it.
every
Yeah.
Thursday afternoon
Yes.
with Marie and Stacy.
We found the clip of the cat in the taco costumes that
Oh,
we did
the
on one.
hot dog.
Yeah, that's what it was. Hot dog.
Still got it. It's over there somewhere.
So
yeah.
everybody at home and watching, and all my judges, go ahead and get your votes cast right now. We're going to go and tally those up in a second. But I know Maria has been a judge on the show once before, and now you're on the other side doing the show.
know.
And right away, you two together are so much fun. Some hosts and co-hosts, they take time to ramp up. As soon as we turned the clock or the stage over to you, you were in a rhythm already. So I noticed that right away. And so now that you're on that side, how do you two feel going through this 10-minute hot seat?
I was just nervous, but I wasn't gonna stop at 10 minutes. That was literally my only fear.
Yeah, I was like, do we get an hour? Because we don't need an hour.
Yeah,
Maybe
I don't even
2.
know. If
Maybe
we
6.
stop at an hour. Yeah. Like we will talk for a long time. It was like 10 minutes.
Exactly.
That's nothing.
Well, let's go to my judges, Wise and Erin's ready here. Wise and Erinn, any takeaways from the first 10 minutes of Successfully Chaotic?
I was sitting here shaking my head like, And also, did you listen to my podcast? Because, moms.
No, but I want to. I
right?
had never heard of it. I was like, Mom, you mentor. That sounds like something I would really like.
But
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
I was totally relating to everything you said.
Amazing.
Yes, like, and what is the next step? What can I do next? Like when everything is blowing up in your face, what is the simplest thing that you can do next?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
So relatable. And also, you guys are hilarious. I love listening to friends like talk and have conversations. It's my favorite. My bestie lives far away from me, so it's just like so lovely to listen to. And I'm not saying that was just a conversation. It was very relatable and totally hilarious and real as well. So I loved all of it.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah.
You're
I think we
welcome.
should start.
Seriously.
We've talked about recording our
No, we do have to.
conversation. Like our like just our phone conversation. Sometimes,
Exactly.
man, that was like a whole show.
Yeah. If I could convince my bestie to actually do a podcast with me, we would probably have something too. But she's like,
That's
no.
right. Just get her. Just give her contact info, and we'll just talk to her. We'll be like, listen.
This
Talk
is being
regular for me.
recorded, so can you imagine? She's like,
You don't have a choice.
Excuse me. I'm calling on behalf of Erinn.
She wants you to be on a podcast with her.
When? Right now. And you're alive.
Yeah. Just invite her to the show. This show. Have her on this show, and then
Right?
all of a sudden
Set
she's
her
on a
up.
pod, and she's being judged.
Right,
Well,
right.
you talk about the
This
hot
call
seat.
may be recorded for educational purposes.
Yeah, yeah. That's the way to do it.
That's
And to
hilarious.
Wise,
Uh, it's always great to see Stacey and Maria doing their thing. I'm a fan of Successfully Chaotic, so like I said, it's always great to see them together and doing their thing.
awesome. So if you're ready, let's see those scores. How do you
Right.
think they came in? Remember, fives on this show are very good. We want to see where are you skewing, where are you weak, where are you strong. So anything, right down the
Time
middle,
management 0.
five. Well, unfortunately, you two have scored pretty high. 6 is probably the highest score we've had on this show so far. And what's really nice about this is on behind each of the numbers, the 6 for audio quality, the 6.5 for engaging hosts, the 6.4 for quality of content, the 6.5 for your content match the expectations, and the 6.1 for production. You can see how all the votes skewed. So you're seeing like, okay, we're skewing above average on these 5 beats. So that seeing that, how do you feel after you have taken a hiatus? Now you're having a little bit of a reunion. How do you feel coming back and seeing these scores?
I'm really proud that my audio is at a 6 since I have no idea what any of these knobs and buttons do.
I'm
So I
proud that
just
it
wanna
says
really
some
say
muteness.
that.
Okay. I'm not even on my mic is right here. Like I could have just connected to my laptop.
I have good equipment that I don't know how to use.
Yay!
I have good equipment in the front studio that I've never used that Stacey told me to get, and I'm afraid of it.
It's like a
Oh my
mullet.
god.
A part
A
or
mullet.
business up front, party in the back. I don't know how to use anything here.
Oh my
That's
god.
basically the truth, yeah.
So let's
Good
go.
setup.
The second part to the scoring is something that the hosts who have been on the show have really enjoyed. It's like a stream of conscious. We call it a word cloud. And whenever you're watching these shows, you can type in any words that you associate with the show. And there were a ton of words that came in. Let's take a look.
Chaos!
Let's
Whoa!
well, and the bigger the word, the more the bigger the word, the more time it was used. So chaos and clarity
funny.
and planning were some words that multiple people used. We had 42 responses come in. Finding yourself, finding clarity, accidentally chaotic. I added that one based off of your accidentally podcaster. You're accidentally chaotic. We have gratitude, nourish your mind, busy life, put one foot in front of the other. I think that was a song in the classic Rudolph, put one foot in front.
Oh, yeah. I know what you're talking about.
The attitude of gratitude, I heard that. Refocus, reset. So I give all these words back to the host. So you get to see your scores. You get to see what people think when they're watching your show. This was a great 10 minutes. How are you feeling now that we've gone through all of this?
Felt good. I thought it was great. It wasn't terrifying.
Yeah, it's not terrifying.
No, it's
It's
good.
fine. It's just us talking.
It's not bad.
It was us being recorded and then judged for it.
Yeah.
No, it was great.
Well, we had
the podcast Bible.
let's see, more like, this is a comment from Brooke is watching. We have Sarah is excited for our next show. Sarah was almost going to be a judge tonight, but she had plans. She's traveling. I think she's on the road right
Hi,
now.
Sarah.
She wants to learn more about our next show,
Sarah.
which
I
is
know,
an
I
easy
know.
segue. I got to admit, it's a great segue. I can go right into welcoming Erinn and the Mommy Mentor podcast. Erinn, officially welcome to the hot seat. I guess.
Hi.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Bum, bum, bum,
Here we go.
bum. So you
Who wants to be a millionaire?
you just saw the first show. Now we're going to bring up the Mommy Mentor. So tell us a little bit about how you got started with your podcast and what we're about to see tonight.
Sure. So to be honest, I have a different podcast that I started with. I didn't, like Maria, had no idea what I was doing and just kind of taught myself along the way. And that one, I was just not feeling it. And so I needed to create something different. And That one was about parenting, but it was specifically about more so parenting teens and preteens, and I wanted to make it broader, especially because I'm a postpartum nurse. Yes, I have 3 kids. Yes, I've been a mom for 17 years. Yes, I have experience as a mom of preemies and twins and, some special things that happened with the preemies, but um what really was eye-opening for me as a postpartum nurse, because I became a nurse after I became a mom, and I thought it was just me having these thoughts of basically I'm a failure, and feeling guilty about every little thing, no matter what, no matter what validation you get from God knows who, you just feel like you're failing at life all the time. And I thought that I was the only one, and I became a postpartum nurse, and I realized it's universal. This is the way of life for moms in America. We are incredibly hard on ourselves, and uh, my first episode is on mom guilt because that is the most universal thing I noticed right away. Um, a new mother 2 hours after she's given birth, because that's when I get to meet her, because she's got to be stable before I meet her. And she comes to me about 2 hours after she's given birth, and usually she's already guilty about something. And usually it's how she's feeding the baby or how it's going with feeding the baby, or, etc. Because you don't know what you're doing, and there's not a lot of education around it before you start doing it. And it's very stressful and it's very hard. And yes, it's a natural thing, but it's very hard to do. And there's a lot of factors that people can't control. And then there's, of course, maybe mom guilt about if you choose not to breastfeed, or if you have to do extra things to get, your baby fed and keep your baby at a healthy weight, and etc. So there's just so many factors that play into feeding that created mom guilt for parents. And then there's also I call them different flavors of mom guilt, so many flavors. And as a preemie mom myself, I felt much mom guilt over the fact that my body failed me. I gave birth 12 weeks early, and as a result, my children had some complications. And you beat yourself up about that over the years, even though you know that you probably tried your best. And so I just really noticed that all these things that moms and dads are dealing with, specifically moms, to be honest, because like Maria said, I've never been a dad, um, are universal, and I wanted to make a podcast to let parents know and moms know you're not alone. This is normal. Everything that you're going through is normal, and I'm here for you. And if you can just listen to my podcast and at least see yourself or hear yourself in something that you like, a story of mine or a guest's story, and I can help you feel comfort and like you're not alone, and it's going to be okay if I can distract you for 30 minutes, make you laugh. That's all I'm here to do, is just create support for parents, because it's very hard.
Yeah, well, a lot of comments coming in. Excited to see this segment. It's going to be a 10-minute segment from the mom guilt episode and how to cope with it. And just like our first podcast tonight, we're judging, or we're looking for, I got you in full screen. Hold on a second. Let me figure this out. Who's hosting this? Let's see. We're looking at the production and how the show's put together, the mechanics of the show. So the audio quality, the host is engaging and keeps your attention, the quality of the content. Does the content match the expectation and the overall production quality? So these are things that help make a show great. And whether it's a trivia show like I do, it's a casual conversation, if it's a business show, these criteria seem to span any kind of genre of podcast. So just like our first podcast, you can scan the QR code, or while you're watching, we already got people, some votes coming in already. Remember, 5s are right down the middle, and that's what we're shooting for. 5 means everything met your expectations. The audio quality was good, the host was engaging, and the content was great. All that stuff was good and met all your expectations. Now, in some cases, the audio quality might be a little bit better than you expect. Maybe that's a 6 or a 7. Maybe the production quality. Sometimes we're doing live streams, the audio cuts out or there's lag. So, we're just looking at these things in real time. So, you can maybe you'll vote like a 3 or a 4, but we don't want to see 1s and 2s, and we don't really want to see 9s and 10s. Those are very extremes. So we're just looking to see where are the patterns for the show, where can we improve at. And then the second part is this word cloud. So you can add some words and just stream of conscious, whatever you think of while you're watching these 10 minutes, add those words. We're going to give that back to Erinn just so she sees a perspective of what are people's, thinking about when they watch my show or listen to my show. And without further ado, unless anybody has anything else, I'm going to start the video. Here we go.
Welcome to the Mommy Mentor Podcast. This parenting bullshit is hard, am I right? From sleepless nights with newborns to sleepless nights with teens. From potty training to sending them off to college. I'm here to get you through it all as your mommy mentor. My name is Erinn Kennedy Heldt, and I'm a registered nurse and a mom of 3. I have professional experience with moms and babies as a postpartum nurse, which keeps the newborn and postpartum transition fresh in my mind. I have 17 years of parenting experience as well. For information on this podcast and more, go to mommymentorpodcast.com. Parents, grab a cup of whatever you prefer and settle in for the next episode. Hey there, mommies. It's your mommy mentor, Erinn. I'm back to talk about my first topic. Something I noticed when I was bedside as a postpartum nurse. I started my nursing career in ortho with joint replacements and then quickly moved to babies as a postpartum nurse in a high-risk OB hospital. Nearly all the moms that I worked with had high-risk factors. So there would be like preeclampsia, high blood pressures, or low birth weight. Maybe their baby was born early, etc. So many ranges of the topic that I'm going to talk about today that I witnessed. And the thing for me was I kind of thought that I was the only one as a mom that feeling these things. I assumed, it was just me. And sometimes my friend would feel the same way, or maybe my sister in one instance or another. But I realized that every single feeling I've had like this, all moms experience. And I couldn't believe I didn't know that it's universal, basically, at least in the American way of life, it's universal. So what I noticed was every single mom, almost immediately after she's given birth. Now, as a postpartum nurse, I get to see new moms and babies after 2 hours if they had a stable delivery and recovery. Otherwise, it's a little longer until they're stable. But it's been at least only 2 hours since this birthing person has given birth. And we end up with immediate guilt. Usually it's about feeding, almost always about feeding. And then some special flavors of mom guilt. That's the topic, mom guilt. Special flavors of mom guilt surrounding premature births and risk factors that you sometimes can control and sometimes you can't. A lot of them you can't. But always I noticed guilt around feeding and the immediate guilt of how, I can't feed my baby. I can't feed my baby because breastfeeding's hard. A lot of the moms I took care of wanted to breastfeed. Some of them wanted to formula feed. Some of them wanted to pump and bottle. And we supported, and I especially supported anything that the moms or dads wanted to do as long as they're feeding their baby. So I would support them in what their feeding plan was. And for the breastfeeding moms, and a lot of moms, just every mom really, because if she's not breastfeeding, she might feel guilty that she's not breastfeeding, even though that's not going to fit in her life, or she can't do it for a medical reason, or it just isn't something she wants to do. Lots of things, lots of factors play into how people decide to feed their babies. But so much universal guilt or mom guilt just pulls at my heartstrings. I realized in this, probably my first year of postpartum nursing, wow, it's not just me. It's literally everyone. So the feeding guilt I see would be moms feeling like this should be natural, because it's a natural process. It's what my body is supposed to do. My baby is supposed to know what to do. And the fact is that there's not enough education on about how much breastfeeding is very hard, and it's a lot of work. And so many factors play into it that are beyond your control. Do you have flat nipples? Does your baby have a high palate? Does your baby have something else going on anatomically with its mouth? Does it have a tongue tie? How bad is the tongue tie? Have you ever breastfed before? How averted are your nipples? Do you have very large breasts and a small baby? Like many factors come into play. And then you have to worry about the milk supply. So you're not just worried about getting the kid to latch, you're also worried about the milk supply and all the things that you have to do to get the milk supply to come in. And then here comes the lactation nurse, and she comes up with a wonderful plan. And I support that plan to get your milk to come in and to get your baby fed. But it's just so much work because maybe now you're pumping and then you have to wash the pump parts. And, maybe you have to supplement your baby because in the time being of your breast milk waiting to come in, we have to give baby something to eat. So just then we have guilt over, oh, I'm bottle feeding, or, oh, I'm formula feeding, or, oh, I'm feeding it donor milk, which is not my milk, and so so many emotions around feeding and mom guilt. That was just an immediate thing that I noticed. It was almost always the feeding. And then like I mentioned, those special flavor of moms, they are very unique on their own. They are mom onlys is what I would call them as a patient. And that might seem sad, but it is. It wasn't a couplet. It wasn't a mom and a baby for me. It was a mom only in the room. And I was taking care of just the mom. And her baby was in NICU or special care nursery, which was attached to our hospital with a Skyway. Very close ride in a wheelchair. And those moms are guilty because of whatever reason that they may have delivered early, that they couldn't keep the baby in longer, that they could have ate better with their diabetes, even though like they try their best and they're only human, and those pregnancy cravings are ridiculous. And, high blood pressure, there's not much you can do about that. And there's not much you can do sometimes about how your baby's growing and things like that. But we take it on as the person who made that baby as a responsibility that we failed at somehow. And I know as a preemie mom, I felt that way. I was on bed rest for 4 weeks in the hospital with my twins back way in the day, 2006. And it was a month of bed rest. And then I had them at 28 weeks and 2 days gestation. And they were 2 pounds, 5 ounces and 14.6 inches long. Look how that rattles off the tongue just 17 years later. You don't forget that guilt that sets in. And for preemie moms, it's usually a very hard thing because their body was supposed to keep the baby in for 40 weeks and it didn't. Like the very basic thing you felt like your body was supposed to be able to do, it didn't do. So you kind of enter into that mom period of time in your life with a feeling of guilt, a feeling of failure. And let's be honest, that's just a terrible way to enter into anything. But it's a very terrible way to enter into motherhood, the most special thing ever. You've created a child, a life, and here you are not enjoying the experience, not enjoying the fact that your baby's here and safe, and hopefully safe, and you're safe. You're just sitting here feeling guilty about the fact that you couldn't keep your baby in your belly. I know, because I feel it. And it does pass. It did get a little better for me, feeling of, I'm a failure. But just every single time something would happen with them, all those feelings came screaming back to me. So one of them had to have physical therapy and occupational therapy. She didn't write very well. Her fine motor skills were off. She had a hyperextended knee. She had a lot of appointments from 1 to 2 years old. For her first year of life, she was in and out of the hospital because she had brain bleeds and needed some BP shunts. So another preemie risk factor. And then I have guilt that I spent so much time with the one because she needed all these appointments, but the other one didn't. So she was at daycare. So I have the mom guilt over that. I spent so much time with my one, but my other one, she was fine. So she didn't get that time. And here you are feeling guilty about that. And it's like, oh gosh, it really is a kick in the pants. But then even a few years later, so she is 4 years old and she's still walking she needed a brace on her leg, and I'm feeling guilty about that. 6 years old, she needs glasses. I am immediately like, oh dear God, it is my fault. This is me. I couldn't keep her in. If I would have been able to keep them in longer, none of this would have ever happened. And you just automatically, it's all right back 6 years later. My husband quickly reminds me that I had glasses when I was 9, and it might very well have happened anyway. He's pretty darn good at balancing me out when I start to spiral into my sad times about mom guilt. He reminds me I'm a good mom.
All right. That was 10 minutes. Let me bring Erinn back to the stage. Stacey is backstage clapping. Erinn.
Oh my goodness.
Wise. Last minute to get your last votes in for the mommy mentor. Let's go to Erinn. Erinn, you saw the first show, and now you got to sit there and watch your show, which is a completely different experience.
It is.
Because you know that
you could see me. I know you could see me. Were you like, oh, because I was like,
no, I was watching the whole time. I'd actually
watching the thing. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm like sitting here reacting to myself, like he's probably like, what's she doing there?
Because that was also the first time I've seen it. I had the clip. I like to react to it with everybody else. So unless you warn me there's profanity, I usually don't watch it ahead of time because I like to react in real time and give real feedback. But I wasn't in the whole time. And a lot of those things that you were speaking of, Maria knows a little bit about my situation. And like I said, we spent the first month in a NICU. What did we do wrong? And we had all those feelings that you were talking about.
Yeah.
And so I was in from the start. And
that's exactly what I want to do is like help people who have experienced this or are going through it. Like that's the goal.
Yeah. No, I loved it.
It could be so isolating and scary.
I didn't have preemies, thankfully, but I really connected when you were just talking about mom guilt altogether because, that's a real thing, right? You always feel like I had a conversation with somebody the other day that's a newer mom, and you always feel like whatever you're doing is the wrong thing. If you decide to stay home, you feel like you're not contributing to the family finances. If you decide to go to work, you feel like you're not there at home enough. And it's this constant back and forth. And I've been on both sides of that. I was lucky I was able to stay with mine when they were very little at home, but I had that different kind of mom guilt. And then whenever I would be working, I'd have the other kind of mom guilt. And I think that's just kind of part of it. You always feel like whatever you're doing, you should be doing
not enough
or different, or it's just a thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. We beat ourselves up so much. And like, that's the funny thing is that I would be so kind to my mommies, my postpartum patients, and like just give them so much grace. And do I give that to myself? Absolutely not.
We're our own worst critics, that's for sure.
I'm glad you guys liked it. I really am.
Very much so. And let's see how the scores came in, which were very good. Anything skewing over 5 is you're meeting expectations. So the 5.5 is a good, solid score. Your audio quality was above the 5. The host was engaging. The quality of the content, your content matching expectation. What you told us you were going to deliver on, you excelled on that. 5.9 is over the what we're looking for. 5 was what we were expecting, but you skewed a little higher. You really over delivered on the quality of the content that you told us you were going to deliver. And the production was great. I loved the little overlays. I loved how you were popping up the segments you were talking about. I thought that was a very nice touch, and I really enjoyed that portion of it. And let's go to the word cloud and see what people said. We had 28 responses come in here. Look at guilt. The show was about mom guilt, but a lot of people put in the word guilt, and there's mom guilt in there, becoming a mom. Universal guilt was one that came in there. I wrote love subtitling. That was definitely me. I said that. Unforeseen factors. Honest mom perspective. Wonderful educational. So you're inspiring people watching and connecting with people as well. So after seeing all this, Erinn, how do you feel about some of the scores, this word cloud, the experience?
I feel pretty good. I like, this is the first time I've done this. I could hear my own heart beating while I was listening to myself talk. So I was a little nervous, but I feel good. Like, I think I got good scores. I appreciate those scores. That I want to do all those things, and so I'm glad that you guys felt that I did well. Thank you.
That's very good. And how many episodes have you done so far?
I just put out I have a full-time job, so I do them monthly, and I have 7 episodes out. So
nice.
And they are, as you saw, they're video. They're on YouTube. They're also on wherever you listen to your podcasts.
I'll have to look it up. Yeah, that was great. I loved it. And I give you props for watching yourself too, because you said your heart was beating. Yes. I don't listen to my own podcast. I don't watch them back. I can talk all day long, but no, I'm not watching myself. So I give you props for that too.
Yeah, it's nerve-wracking.
I can't not do it.
So I did have a different website for you as well. I think this also connects to your podcast, 41st Timer.
Yeah. So I will explain a little bit. My first podcast is 41st Timer. That's what it's about. It was about preteens and teens, and also me trying new things because, now I'm old and I need hobbies. But so
I love it.
So that website is all about me. It's about both of my podcasts. It's about me. So from the 41sttimer.com, you can click the Mommy Mentor link, and that will take you to the Mommy Mentor podcast page.
It's right there on the homepage,
right
41st Timer, or just Google search the Mommy Mentor podcast.
Or mommymentorpodcast.com, I think works.
Very good. And Successfully Chaotic was here. Stacey and Maria, thank you for being here. I have successfullychaotic.com. Maria, Stacey, anything else you'd like to plug or promote?
I think that's good. I mean, Stacey's got another show called Price on Purpose. I'm plugging that.
What?
We're gonna call you and make you start putting a bunch out again.
We're booking dates in January. Look forward to Price on Purpose on the Rise and Outshine podcast.
Yeah, Maria, I'll come back on and then I'll just interview you.
That's okay. Whatever, as long as you start doing it again. So this is really about peer pressure tonight. Erinn's friend and Stacey. So that was really, yeah.
I support it.
Sometimes peer pressure is positive.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Indeed.
Positive peer pressure.
Yeah.
And my judge, realwiseproductions.com. You have a couple podcasts in production. You're doing the Thursday morning Wise in the AM, and you have the Real Wise Productions. And I'm missing, what am I missing? Stuck in my mind. Stuck in my mind. There it is. You can also find Stuck in My Mind podcast, Real Wise Productions. Anything else, Wise, you'd like to add?
No. I know after this I will be going to sleep, though. That's for sure.
Me too.
Yeah, none of us are going to be up in 15 minutes. I guarantee you that.
Right to sleep.
Well, this has been the Rise and Outshine podcast. Thank you to the Mommy Mentor. Thank you to Successfully Chaotic and to Wise, Real Wise Productions. Let's hear that theme song.
We're